Now, hot wire anemometer, here we see a field piece one. You got this long metal probe with a sensor in the end. Basically, it's taking the temperature of that sensor. You have a hot wire probe. Just imagine it's hot, because that's the best way to do it. Let's keep it simple. And air moving across it cools it down. And however cool it gets, that's what the velocity is. That's how it reads the velocity. So what you do in the picture, excuse me, in the picture here for the podcast people, is basically what looks like a piece of spiral duct. They've cut a hole in it, and this probe is sticking through that hole. And what you'll do is you'll move it across the diameter of the duct. And you may do this in 3 locations because you want a nice look all the way across that ductwork. You don't want to measure one across the middle because that might be a dead zone. It's like, well, it's very slow here. But if you would have changed it and come at a different angle, and keep in mind, you're going across the entire diameter. You're not going to come in there and go across the middle, then through the top section and the bottom section. You're going to go all the way across at angles, up and down. So then you can get an average. Because these machines, I don't know if it's the field piece here, but I think it might be the field piece. I want to say STA2 or SAT2 or something like that. You can measure out a few runs and then calculate, which is really, really nice. And that works well. It's a really good thing, but here's the problem. See that piece of ductwork in this picture? That straight piece of metal ductwork? Well, let me introduce you to the South. The South has no straight pieces of ductwork that are longer than 2 feet before, and I'll just put this in terms that our Floridian friends down there, ductboard, metal duct, any straight duct. I mean, flex duct, I guess technically you could do it in flex duct, but that's a horrible mess because once you put a hole in flex duct, in between those 2 wires of the helix, it wants to rip open and then go all the way down that spiral on the inside, and then you rue the day you were born. You don't want that. My experience is I had very little opportunities to measure with a hot wire because it just didn't fit into the jobs that I had. Now, if you have commercial jobs, you may have the opportunity there because you may be able to have those long runs. But in residential, in a lot of places, you don't really have that opportunity. Someone in a colder environment where they have basements and you have that return stack coming down next to the furnace or air handler, you might be able to drill holes. Again, it was circular in the picture, but rectangular square ductwork, it's the same. You're drilling 3 holes across that full diameter and you're doing these nice, long, slow runs with your hot wire and it'll average them out. So that's a good thing. Just it doesn't really work in many parts of the country and on many jobs. So it's really for a specific type of duct system. So basically I'm saying again right here, need a long straight duct. Metal duct is preferred. You can do it in ductboard, but I really worry about ductboard. When you're cramming probes through ductboard, I'm imagining all those fibers just getting lodged in the probe. So you'd have to open it up and just be real careful with it. Anything like that, this field piece thing costs probably $300. You have to be careful with that because I know it's not $1,000 piece of equipment. It's not like a flow hood. It's not the CBS flow hood for sure, but it's not like one of these $1,500 flow hoods. But $300. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's a good bit of money. $300 is a lot of money. I know that it's not a lot to everybody, but to a lot of people, me included, that's a lot of money. So I don't want to have to buy a new one or send it off for servicing. And then the guy calls you and said, been around ductboard lately? And you're like, no. Why? And he says, I see your address here is Orlando. Orlando, Michigan? No. So it's a problem. It's just difficult. Don't let yourself get caught up in it by never doing it. Talk about all airflow. Measurements require some amount of setup and human input. Human input is basically, read that as opportunities for mistakes and wrong readings. You may have to go to a chart. Go to your chart for your static pressure. Make sure it's the right blower because there's several steps there. You got to pay attention to that stuff. Maybe you look in there and that blower is covered in dirt. Well, you're going to have to clean the blower, or your static pressure is going to appear too low and you're going to say it doesn't have enough airflow. Well, it doesn't technically, but not because it's the wrong speed. It's because the blower is covered in crap and you have to clean it out. And that means a lot of times taking it out and spraying it down, hitting it with some of that coil cleaner that doesn't corrode stuff. Clean it up real nice, make it real shiny. And the homeowner goes, well, how much is it just to spray this thing off? Like, I'm going to be here for a few hours. This thing's going to be 300. And they're going to be like, well, just don't clean it. So all these devices like vane and hot wire, you have to put in what kind of duct you have if you want to calculate the CFM. And you don't want to put in the wrong duct. And you want to make sure you measure it correctly, not say, it looks like 12-inch round. You want to measure it correctly because it makes a big difference to what you're getting out. If you give it junk, it's going to give you bigger junk. Because every time you measure something, you increase the opportunity that the complete measurement that you want at the end will be bad. Like saying, I know we talk about measure volts, amps, you want to get watts. You got two measurements there leading up to another one. The capacitor formula that a lot of people use, which I never use, where you can, just measure the voltages and stuff like that, do a formula. I never did that because it's just more steps to get wrong. I stopped the thing and measure the microfarads. Hand dexterity. That sounds stupid. It's like, what is this? Am I Hawkeye? Why do I need hand dexterity? Well, to move that vane anemometer around and the hot wire, you want to move at uniform speed. Because if you don't do uniform speed, you will have another wrong thing. And just imagine that. Just imagine moving your hand back and forth in front of you at the same speed. That can get difficult after a while, especially if you're doing it more than once, more than one grill. It's, it's one of the things where you're talking on the phone, all of a sudden you slow down because you're not paying attention. Wrong. Measurement's wrong now. Way to go. Airflow rate must be confirmed or all other measurements will be affected. It's the same premise. If you don't confirm the airflow, later on we do calculations of total capacity. It's not going to work. Every step has to be taken care of to reduce the chance of error. Is there going to be error? Heck yeah, there's going to be error. We're human beings. It doesn't even matter. If we were cyborgs, we still have a bunch of test instruments that have tolerances, plus 5%, minus 5%. You make 10 measurements, that all adds up to a much larger error. So try to keep it tight as you can, but you're not going to make it perfect. Confirming airflow is just the first step of charging, capacity calculation, analyzing what's wrong with the system.